So this is a sister-to-sister testimony, and I would like to share this for all those who are listening and who can pass the word to those who you feel it may bless. I just pray that it bless you because it most definitely blessed me. This is a testimony that I'm going to share in regards to my sister. It was September 2016. I was at work, and I received a call on my intercom that I had a phone call, and it was a personal call. So when I picked up the phone, there was my daughter was on the other end, and she, although she sounded calm and her voice was very quiet, my spirit let me know that there was something to be alarmed. So immediately I started praying. I try to gather myself, as you all can imagine, when you get a phone call and don't know what's going on the other end. And I just began to calm myself and just say, Father, okay, I'm listening. Just help me whatever's about to be said. And so my daughter, she said, she asked me if I can step out, if I can step out to be alone because she had something to tell me. And I stopped her and said, no, just go ahead and tell me. I'm okay. Just tell me. And so she said that she had just got the news. They were trying to reach me on my cell, which I had my cell turned off at the time because I was at work. And so she called me at work and she said they were trying to contact me and that they meaning my brother-in-law and my niece, had rushed my sister to the hospital because she was unconscious. And the amazing thing about this is I didn't know this at the time, but when my daughter was telling me, the Father began to minister to me. And when he started to minister to me, I just heard him say, who is in control? Do you know who is in control? Do you know who is the all-knowing? And so I can remember hearing that in my spirit, and it calmed my spirit. So I assured my daughter that I was okay because she was living out of the state at the time, so she could not get to the family. So, of course, I left work, and as I was driving in my car, I just turned off the radio, and I began to talk to the Father because I still hadn't known what had taken place. And so I finally contacted my daughter away from my work, and she explained to me that my sister had fallen out. She was unconscious, and she had gotten to the emergency room, and it appeared that she had 2 strokes at one time and also a heart attack. But at that time, we did not know she had the heart attack at that moment. And so I just was trying to make sense of it all because my sister is this well-rounded kind of woman who is a caretaker for everybody. And so she's this strong statured type of woman. So to hear all of that in the same sentence with my sister, in my mind, I just couldn't fathom it. So I tears started rolling down my eyes, and I began to pray. And I can recall my phone was going off, and my family member was wondering where I was. Was I okay, or was I on the way to the hospital? But the ironic thing, what was so ironic about this was, instead of me, my mind was telling me, I was in a car, my mind was telling me to get to the hospital as soon as possible, but the direction of the car was going in the opposite, and I found myself going to my home. And so I can recall that I sat to the side. I finally parked the car, and I began to talk to the Father, and I said, okay, Father, I just need you to tell me how should I pray? What is going on? Please help me. Please help me, because is it my sister's time? Is it your time? Is this the adversary? What is happening in this? And so I was just, my thoughts was all over the place. And so there was this calmness that came over me. And I recall the Father was saying to just go get by yourself and just get with me. And I remember I called my rabbi and I told her what had happened, and we began to pray. And so the prayer that we prayed, we were just praying for healing and for the Father to heal, and that he was a healer. And I know Isaiah 53:5 came to me when it talked about how it was oh man, I'm trying to think, the affliction, how he would take away the iniquity. He would the Father would crush take away the suffering and the pain. And so that began to come to me, and his wounds, and that we are healed, and all of that was coming to me. And so I was holding on to those scriptures. And then I was meditating on the Psalms. I was singing to myself, saying, Father, you are a deliverer. I know you're a healer. I know you heal. Many are afflicted, but the righteous. I said, Father, you deliver him out of it all. You know, I remember saying that over and over again. So that gave me strength. So once I got off the phone with Rabbi, I remember standing in the mirror. And I said, okay, Father, do I need to get to the emergency room? Talk to me. Let me know what I need to do. So I got into the emergency room. And so when I got there, I could see that my brother-in-law was his face. It was fear on his face, and rightfully so. It was fear on my face, but the Father had changed my countenance. And I could recall walking in there, and I can recall just walking through the halls, and I began to pray for other people, the people that I was watching that were sick, that was on the bed of affliction. I began to pray for them. And at the time, I didn't even understand why I was praying for them, because I was there for my sister, but my spirit was telling me to pray for others, because the Father had my sister, and that she's okay, she's fine. And so what I didn't tell you in the beginning is when she fell out, she passed out on the floor in her bathroom, and her youngest daughter heard her and saw her on the floor and called her father. And the amazing part is when my brother-in-law called the paramedics, he called 911, and the paramedics came. The dispatcher, now where they live is a long distance from the hospital, and she had already been out. She was unconscious, and she began to seize. And so the dispatcher was a neighbor right down from her house that was coming home. He was coming home from work and heard the call in and heard the dispatching, and realized that the person that was in need was a next door neighbor. And that's how close he was to her. He turned right around, came to the house. So what I'm saying to you all is that the paramedics was not even the original paramedics that my brother-in-law called. My brother-in-law had called. The paramedics was on their way, but the dispatcher just so happened, what the world would say, just a coincidence, but the Father would say all of this timing. The dispatcher was coming into his home from work and heard the call on his radio and turned right around and came to my sister's house. And that's where he was able to work on her right then and there at that moment before the actual paramedics came. So I just praise Father for that. So when we get to the hospital, you know, things wasn't looking good, of course, and we're praying and praying. And I heard the Father say it wasn't her time. And so I felt the prayers of the righteous. I felt the prayers. I felt the prayers of the prayer warriors. I felt it because I drew strength from it. And I remember standing on the side of a hall and speaking to the Father and calming my niece. And looking at my brother-in-law and said, she's fine. It's not her time. So if it's not her time, then we need to reverse the fear, and we need to just go in and break through the atmosphere and realize that the Father is in control. I don't care what it looks like. Stop looking at what it looks like. And we begin to pray, and you can feel the faith. You can feel it rising up. And I can recall one of the doctors came in and said that they had gotten her her blood, they was trying to get her blood regulating, and that the blood, it had traveled to her brain, from the stroke. And so they were just trying to make sure that they get that regulated, because that wasn't good. That wasn't a good area. And so I can recall praying and saying, I hear the doctors, I hear what they're saying. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that. So I know I stayed up at the hospital with my sister first it started off, it was 2 days, then 3 days, then 4 days. And I stayed up there. I anointed her. I read scriptures over her. I greased her up. I spoke life over her. I knew the Father would restore it, and I wasn't going to move until the Father did it. And I know at the time her limbs were weak. She couldn't really walk, because she had lost so much blood, and, her body had went through trauma. And so I can recall the nurses saying to her, well, you may have to use the walker. You may have to use this for a while. Her oxygen level had dropped. Her kidneys functions wasn't working. I mean, it was looking bad, y'all. It really was. But I said, there is no way. There is no way the same creator that created me, that created all of us, that raised Lazarus from the dead. I said, this is the same creator who loved this woman who's lying here in this bed. I said, there is no way that he's going to bring her this far just to say, poof, you're gone. I said, there's still work for her to do. I prayed over her. I whispered in her ears. I massaged her. I oiled her up. I trust. I believe. I told her to have faith. I don't care what it looks like. I mean, she came through. She was coming through, in and out. And it was day 4 when they were saying, okay, her blood level, it looks like it's getting a little better, but it's still not where we want it to be. It's still a little faint with her oxygen. We still have to keep her on the oxygen. And I can recall speaking to my sister saying, look, I can't believe more than I can't be here and believe this more than you do. You have to believe this more than I do. I don't care faith as a mustard seed, but you have to believe it. You have to know it. You have to know that you're going to walk out of this hospital without this walker. You have to know that you're not going to be carrying this oxygen around. You have to know and believe that the Father's going to heal you, going to regulate your blood. You have to believe that everything that the doctor is saying that you are attached to, you will be detached from. So you have to believe this. I can't stand up here and believe it if you don't believe it. So, I got on her nerves. Talk about a sister's heart. I got on her nerves, but I was not moving. I didn't care what the doctor said. I even had some loved ones saying, well, she'll be on oxygen for the rest of her life. And as the Christian folks would say, the devil is a liar. That's the saying that they will always say. I was like, I don't believe it. It ain't going to happen. How is it that she will be on oxygen for the rest of her life when the Father is the breath of life? So he's the breath of life. So she has his breath. So no, she will not be on oxygen for the rest of her life. No, she will not be on blood thinners for the rest of her life. How is that possible when it's the Father's blood? It's the Messiah blood. It was his blood that died for us. So he has her blood. And so everything that the doctor was saying, I was just reversing it. And my sister began to speak. She began to repeat those things. She began to tell the doctor, I'm not going to be on this medication. I'm going to walk. I'm not going to be on this oxygen. And I was like, say it, because I'm not leaving until you sound like, I am not leaving until you sound like our Father. I said, so say it. So she kept saying it. And it is 2018. My sister, she turned 50. She turned 51 on December the 15th, 2017. That was last year. And we celebrated her life here on earth. That was last year. My sister went to therapy with the 2 strokes and the heart attack that she had. The doctors came out and said, I have not seen such a quick recovery in any patients, and I've been a doctor for the last 30 plus something years, this doctor said. And he said he has never seen a quick recovery such as my sister. And another, the heart doctor came out and scratched her head. And she said, one thing for sure I can tell you all, you can pray. There's prayer that went up. She said, I know that for a fact. She said, because when I look at this woman laying here on this bed, I know that there's a higher power. Now, these came from the doctors, and I just give praise and all the glory and honor to the Father. And I'm not ashamed to give my testimony because someone out there needs to hear it. You know, I need to be reminded. My sister needs to be reminded that the Father is real, and I witnessed it for myself. My sister told the doctor that she will walk out of this hospital that day. She said, I will walk out of this hospital without a walker. She said, I will not be carrying an oxygen tank. I will be able to walk on my own. She said, I will be able to handle the work that I'm doing, that I was used to doing, moving and I'm getting around the way I used to get around up and down the stairs. She said, I will get this done. She said, with Father's strength, and I will do it. I will be able to do it. And guess what? She was able to do it, and she is still doing it. I called her last night. I called her today, and she's out and about with the things doing the things that she enjoyed doing, shopping, and she's having a great life. And I just thank the Father that she is here. I thank the Father that she did not give up on her faith. I thank the Father that He has placed strong prayer warriors in our life to be a part of the things that we go through when we need help. I just thank the Father for that, because this is a living, live testimony that He is real, that He is real. And all the medicines that she had to take to get from this process to this process, where she's at right now, she's only on 2 medications. And she just recently told her doctor, I will not be on these 2. She said, I got off the 4. She said, I will not be on these 2. She said, you just watch and see. And the same doctor, her therapist, her OT, she told him that she will walk out without the walker. She is not walking with a walker. She is not walking with oxygen. She is breathing on her own. She is doing the exercises and the things that the Father, that the doctor instructed the Father instructed the doctor to tell her, and everything that Father said He would do, He has done it, and He will continue to do it. He will continue to do it. So I'm grateful, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to share this, because it was such a blessing, because the Father showed Himself so strong in our life, and it has built our faith even more. And so I'm just grateful, and I just feel honored to have been given the opportunity to share this sister-to-sister testimony. Praise Yah.